you guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be discussing the ever so popular video trend on K-pop YouTube, Why I Unstand BLACKPINK. There are plenty of these videos on YouTube. I'm sure most of you have seen at least one of them. They really started to gain traction when this video popped up last year, and the video series has continued to live on K-pop YouTube. Today, my goal is to dissect these videos and the reasoning of why people should unstand BLACKPINK, discuss whether or not their logic makes sense, and in the end, I will give you a verdict with reasoning on whether or not these videos should exist. So let's talk about the Why I Unstand BLACKPINK videos. To clarify, I am using BLACKPINK as an example because they're a group that seems to have the most of these videos on YouTube. However, this does overall apply to every group. For those of you who have never watched or seen this trend before, these Why I Unstand BLACKPINK videos are exactly what they sound like. They're made by people who want to discuss the reasons as to why they unstand BLACKPINK, and most of the time they are trying to convince you to unstand them as well. Also, just so you guys know, I am making this video as someone who is not a Blink. In fact, I've been called a BLACKPINK anti on numerous occasions because of my criticisms of BLACKPINK and their fan base, but spoiler alert, I'm not. Simply put, because I don't adore or hate BLACKPINK, I'm coming to you unbiased. I have no horse in this race. I'm not going to be trying to convince you of whether or not you should like BLACKPINK. This is simply an analysis of the reasoning behind the Why I Unstand BLACKPINK trend on K-pop YouTube. All of these videos include the obligatory point about Blinks being toxic and mean, and that's one of the many reasons why they unstand. I always found issue with this because it's clearly people projecting their issues with Blinks onto BLACKPINK. And just to clarify, I'm saying this as somebody who hates Blinks. I don't like Blinks at all, and I've never met one that I've gotten along with. However, despite my issues with them, I don't take my issues with Blinks out on BLACKPINK. I know that BLACKPINK and Blinks are two completely separate entities, and it's unfair for me to take my issues with Blinks and make them BLACKPINK's responsibility. Because, and this may be a hot take, I don't know, but in my opinion, Blinks aren't BLACKPINK's responsibility. And the same goes for every artist and their fandom. This is not a parent-child relationship where the parent has to take responsibility for the child's actions. BLACKPINK doesn't have any control over what Blinks decide to do, and it's completely unfair to pose Blinks being mean or toxic as an issue with BLACKPINK and not an issue with the fandom. Not only is this not fair, but it's completely irrational. With big groups in K-pop such as BLACKPINK and BTS, people like to talk about how these groups should take control of their fandom and quote-unquote reprimand them when they act toxic, which, as I said earlier, is not fair. Once again, BLACKPINK and Blinks are separate entities, and because there are so many Blinks, it would be literally impossible for BLACKPINK to control all of their fans. And let's say that one day BLACKPINK did call out toxic Blinks and told them to stop being mean and disrespectful. BLACKPINK would immediately get hate for being quote-unquote mean to their fans, people making sure to specifically attack Jennie. No matter what they do, BLACKPINK can't win either way. The point overall is, having a problem with Blinks is a valid problem, as there's a lot to be said about Blinks as a fandom, most of it not positive. However, these Why I Unstand BLACKPINK videos like to include this point in their video despite the fact that it contributes nothing to your reasoning as to why you unstand BLACKPINK. Also, and this is just my opinion, but if you truly liked BLACKPINK and had such a huge issue with Blinks, you could just minimize your interaction with other people in the fandom and stand BLACKPINK on your own. It's really not that hard. Unstanding BLACKPINK due to the fandom makes it seem like in some way you have a disdain for BLACKPINK. Many people project their issues with YG onto BLACKPINK, which once again isn't fair. Similar to my point about BLACKPINK and Blinks being separate entities, so are YG and BLACKPINK, in fact even more so than Blinks. Many people fail to understand the relationship between BLACKPINK and YG, so let me put it simply. Taking out your problems with BLACKPINK on YG is like going to a restaurant and finding out that the owner of the restaurant likes to kick puppies for fun. This upsets you and you take it out on some poor waiter being paid $12 an hour despite the fact that this waiter has absolutely no control over the restaurant owner's actions. So to bring it back to BLACKPINK, they're simply employees of YG Entertainment. And as we all know by now by the clear shit show that's been taking place at YG for years now, BLACKPINK has no say in what the company does. With that being said, I'm going to break down the three main issues with YG people project onto BLACKPINK and are using in these videos as reasons to unstand them. Many people use Jennie being YG's favorite as reasoning for why they unstand. Most of these videos dive into Jennie's promotions during solo in comparison to OT4 comebacks, her outfits in comparison to the other members' outfits, etc. And while some of this is nitpicky, some of these complaints are valid and real issues that YG needs to address. However, this still isn't making sense. Why is Jennie being YG's favorite a reason to unstand BLACKPINK? Sure, favoritism is bad, and the other members of BLACKPINK shouldn't be pushed aside by YG in favor of Jennie, but why should other people unstand for this reason? If Jennie's favoritism really bothered you so much, then unstand, I guess. But what about this favoritism is so unacceptable and problematic with BLACKPINK that this should be a motive for Blinks to call off the group? To be clear, critiquing YG's favoritism of Jennie isn't a bad thing. This is a valid critique of YG Entertainment, but that's all it is. It's not a valid critique of BLACKPINK, and these videos shouldn't be telling people to unstand BLACKPINK because of this. These videos like to use BLACKPINK only getting one comeback a year, YG barely promoting them, their tiny discography, and BLACKPINK sitting in the YG dungeon for 11 out of 12 months of the year as reasonings for why they unstand them. And while I can definitely understand unstanding a group that isn't that active, I still have the same issue with this reasoning as I did with Jennie's favoritism. Why is this a reason why other people should unstand BLACKPINK? Sure, it's a well-known fact both inside and outside of the fandom that YG sucks at promoting BLACKPINK, and there are plenty of productive conversations to be had about this. But why is the solution to this problem to unstand BLACKPINK? What part of the issues does unstanding them solve? Like I said, if this is your own personal reasoning for unstanding them, whatever. But once again, this is a valid critique of YG, not BLACKPINK, and once again, this isn't a reason as to why Blink should unstand BLACKPINK. People often like to lump BLACKPINK in with the problematic shit YG has done. The biggest example of this is BLACKPINK being dragged into the mess that seulrene was in last year. And many videos about unstanding BLACKPINK project issues that they have with YG onto the girls. And projection, as we've seen already, is a huge issue for BLACKPINK because people like to take the problems of people who are BLACKPINK adjacent and project them onto the girls despite them having literally nothing to do with those issues. Also, many of these videos like to act like disliking YG is something that's so new and unique and that Blinks couldn't relate to this, which is wrong because everyone and their mother hates YG. My point is, criticizing YG Entertainment is more than okay. We all know what a shit show that company is. However, why is the fact that YG is bad a BLACKPINK issue? We all know BLACKPINK have little to no control over any of their actions, and yet these videos feel like it makes sense to use the shitstorm taking place in YG Entertainment as a reason to further tamp down on BLACKPINK, despite the fact that YG's mess is in no way BLACKPINK's fault. One of the biggest problems with these videos is the fact that they so often use their own personal opinions about BLACKPINK as reasoning for why Blinks should unstand BLACKPINK. There are three major things that these videos will always include: not liking BLACKPINK's concept, not liking BLACKPINK's music, or believing that other groups should have the success that BLACKPINK has. While the last one is simply just a case of jealousy, the first two are very common when it comes to unstanding a group. For example, I decided to unstand GFriend due to the fact that I found myself no longer liking their music. However, just because I don't like GFriend's music, it doesn't mean that other people shouldn't like their music. Just because I unstand them for this reason doesn't mean other people have to unstand them for this reason. The same goes for concepts. I honestly didn't think I would have to explain to K-pop stans what personal preference is, but just because you don't like something doesn't mean that other people aren't allowed to like it either. You may not like BLACKPINK's concept, and that's fine. You may not like their music, and that's fine too. But there are people who like these things about BLACKPINK, and you personally not liking these things is not a reason for you to push other people to unstand them. A lot of these videos like to shame Blinks for supporting BLACKPINK because YG is a shitty company. The argument is often that you can't support BLACKPINK and not support YG, so you should unstand BLACKPINK if you hate YG so much. And while I do agree that the former part of the statement is true, telling Blinks to unstand BLACKPINK because of YG opens up a can of worms that affects every single fandom in K-pop. To put it simply, it's not fair to criticize Blinks for continuing to support BLACKPINK because YG is shitty. When SM was under fire for the shitstorm that was 2014, No one was yelling at Sones, XOLs, or Miyus for continuing to support their favorite groups because of the shit SM was doing. And unstanding a group due to turbulence among their label arguably makes things even worse for the group, since companies see a decline in popularity as a reason to put groups on the back burner or even disband them. So while yes, it is true you can't support Blackpink without supporting YG, blaming Blinks for supporting Blackpink for the reason YG continues to be shitty isn't fair, and it also isn't right. Many of these videos try to diagnose the members, analyze the members' personalities, dictate which members do and don't get along, etc. This is wildly inappropriate and out of line for obvious reasons, and I don't understand how people making these videos could type these things out, record them, and edit them and still believe that this is something that would be okay to do. This is not only a Blackpink problem, but a girl group problem in general. There are always rumors surrounding girl groups and their relationships with the other members, usually about members not getting along. This directly stems from misogyny and the belief that women are quote-unquote catty. Jennie has been the main victim of this for obvious reasons. Many of these videos wholeheartedly push the idea that Jennie is a bitch, self-centered, spoiled, etc., yet claim that these are just criticisms of YG and Jennie's image, even though they're clearly criticizing Jennie as a person. And criticizing her even despite all of the shit she had to deal with and the fact that these quote-unquote attitude scandals are largely baseless. These assumptions about who Blackpink are as people and whether or not they like each other are in no way constructive criticisms as these videos would have you believe. It's blatant hate. By bringing up these points in their videos about why they unstand Blackpink, they are trying to make you believe that the members are bad people. They want you to hear about Jennie's quote-unquote lazy dancing and attitude scandals and theories about whether or not the members get along, and have you believe that they're people who are not worthy of your support. When in reality, these people have just deluded themselves into believing that they know Blackpink, and that they're justified in spreading baseless rumors about the members not getting along, or being mean to fans and or other idols. These people feel such a sense of entitlement and disdain towards Blackpink that they would psychoanalyze and diagnose a group of women that they don't even know to get you to unstand them. Let's be clear, this is not valid criticism at all. This is hate. These are lies. And it demonstrates such a clear disrespect of Blackpink that the people making these videos would go out of their way to fabricate proof about the members being bad people despite not knowing them personally. You don't know Jisoo, you don't know Jennie, you don't know Rosé, you don't know Lisa, and most importantly, you don't know their relationships with each other. The psychoanalyzing and diagnosing of Blackpink in these videos has to stop. So in conclusion, my verdict on whether or not the Why I Unstand Blackpink videos should exist is that they shouldn't. They not only have nothing meaningful to say, but they're all extremely repetitive, biased, and sugar-coated hate videos. Many people take any small reason to make a video about why they unstand Blackpink despite the fact that their reasons are subjective and or based on misinformation or disdain for Blackpink. These videos have nothing to offer other than a feeling of vindication for those who don't like Blackpink and want to listen to other people list off why they don't like them either. And maybe these videos would be justified if Blackpink were a really problematic group and these videos were holding them responsible for their actions, but they aren't. All they do is serve as a venue for Blackpink antis to gather and circle jerk over how much they hate the girls. Anyways, that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Comment your opinions down below, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!